Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving deep right to the edge of physics and philosophy to tackle a huge question about the universe we live in.
Okay, let's get right into it. You've probably heard this idea of a fine-tuned universe, right? The notion that the basic laws and numbers of nature seem just perfectly calibrated for life to exist. But what if that fine-tuning isn't really a feature of the cosmos at all, but a feature of the stories we tell about it?
So, first things first, let's unpack what the problem is supposed to be. Why do so many scientists look out of the universe and think, wow, this looks like it was designed? Well, it all boils down to a couple of very, very specific numbers.
Take this number, for instance, roughly 1 over 137. This little guy is the fine structure constant, and it basically sets the strength of electromagnetism. It's one of a handful of these so-called fundamental constants that just kind of pop up in our equations, and it turns out their values are incredibly, ridiculously precise.
And here's the real kicker. The whole argument is that if you could somehow reach in and tweak this number, or others, like the cosmological constant, by even the tiniest fraction, the whole universe as we know it would just fall apart. Stars wouldn't form, atoms might fly to pieces, and the complex chemistry that life depends on? Totally impossible. It really seems like we won some kind of unbelievable cosmic lottery.
So, how do we explain that kind of luck? I mean, how did we land in the one universe with the perfect settings for us to even be here? This is where a really popular and, let's be honest, a really controversial idea steps in. It's called the Anthropic principle. And at its heart, it's basically an argument about selection bias. It says, well, of course the universe looks perfectly suited for us. Think about it. In any universe that wasn't suited for us, there'd be no one around to notice. We see the universe this way because it's the only way we could possibly see it. Now, this line of thinking often leads you straight to the idea of a multiverse, an infinite lottery with countless universes, each with its own random set of physical rules. And we just happen to live in the one that hit the jackpot, the one where all the dials were turned just right for conscious beings like us to show up and wonder about it all. But hang on. What if this entire chain of logic is built on a shaky foundation? There's a really powerful critique out there that suggests this whole fine-tuning problem isn't some deep cosmic mystery we need to solve. What if it's a philosophical trap that we've laid for ourselves? This quote right here gets to the absolute core of the counter-argument. The idea is that we've confused the map with the territory. We've looked at the numbers in our theories and mistaken them for the fundamental, concrete reality of the universe itself. You see, this critique argues that these so-called fundamental constants aren't things we dug up out of reality like cosmic fossils. No, they're human inventions. They are the grammar for the scientific story we've built to make sense of what we measure. Reality itself, well, it just is. It probably doesn't come neatly packaged with little numbers attached.
So the critique really boils down to a few key things. First, the Anthropic principle basically invents a completely unseeable multiverse just to explain our one single observable reality. Second, it makes a huge philosophical leap by assuming our abstract models, our math, are the real world. And finally, the whole thing rests on this old-fashioned idea that we are somehow separate from the universe we're measuring. And this is the crucial point right here. Classical science often pictures a detached observer, passively measuring an outside world. But a deeper look, especially from quantum physics, suggests the observer and the observed are an inseparable system. The act of measuring isn't just reading a value. It's an interaction. It's an act that co-creates the reality we perceive. And if that's true, then the universe isn't fine-tuned for us. The tuning is a property that emerges from our relationship with it.
So, if we throw out the fine-tuning problem and the Anthropic principle, what's left? Well, it actually opens the door for much simpler, maybe even more elegant models of how the universe works. So, let's check out an alternative. Instead of a universe governed by this super complex dashboard of delicate, finely tuned numbers, just imagine it's more like a single elastic fabric. This model only needs a few core properties, 3 dimensions for space, 1 for time, and just one key variable property. Let's call it its stiffness. And this is where the power of this new way of thinking really shines. A simpler model like this totally satisfies Occam's razor, the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the best one. It takes a whole suite of super sensitive, seemingly coincidental numbers and collapses them into one single, more robust property. A universe that was a little more or less stiff wouldn't necessarily be a dead one. Now, this kind of shift does more than just solve a physics puzzle.
It completely reframes our relationship with the cosmos. It moves us away from being the center of the story to just being a part of the story itself.
So, to wrap it up, the whole argument really rests on these three pillars. Number one, physical constants are the tools we use, not objective cosmic truths. Two, we aren't separate observers, we are participants in the universe. And three, this whole perspective lets us build simpler models that don't need a cosmic miracle to work. And look, let's be really clear, this is not an attack on science. Not at all. It's a call for a more mature scientific philosophy, one that asks us to recognize the limits of our own stories. It's about moving past these explanations that, let's be honest, always seem to place humanity in a special, privileged position, and instead just embracing how deeply connected we are to everything. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. If we start seeing our constants and our laws as just pieces of a human story, it opens up a whole universe of new possibilities. It challenges us to imagine completely new kinds of research, new kinds of stories that might get us even closer to understanding a reality that just is, completely independent of the numbers we invented to describe